Good evening, everybody. It's December, my favorite month of the year. And no, I don't have Santa Claus with me, but I have the next best thing. I have Frank Dailey tonight. And this is actually so exciting because this is the month of awe-inspiring magic and miracles. And I have someone who is pretty miraculous himself. Good evening and welcome to the December in 2019, the last month of the year. And we have a wonderful evening planned for all of you. I just want to make sure that we're on so we can get going here. And if you come on tonight and you check in, please definitely say hello and let us know that you're on. And if you have any questions for us, please make sure you include it in the feed. We're happy to answer as much as we can. This is a conversation between very good friends who are in fact family. And we want to welcome all you to engage in the Christmas spirit and have a conversation with the audience as well. So good evening, Frank. How are you tonight?
Wonderful. It's been awesome just being able to see your smiling face.
Oh, thank you. Oh my God, it's so nice to be here with you. I can't tell you how excited I was when you said yes to the conversation. I do want to introduce you, but before I do, as always on my Manifesting with Meg show, I ask you to pick a number and set your intention and hold it till the end of the conversation where you will actually announce it to the audience and then move on to that point. So introducing Frank Dailey. He is Chief Master Sergeant Frank Dailey. He served with distinction within the Air Force Special Ops Command and U.S. Special Ops Command. He took part in operations in Desert Storm, Bosnia, Kosovo, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Africa. He's traveled throughout the world, living in 230 different countries. He graduated magna cum laude with a Bachelor's of Science in Counter Terrorism and National Defense Strategy from Henley Putnam University, and now a graduate student at Liberty University in Psychology and Social Science program. Definitely an accomplished individual. He's been retired after, he's since his retirement after 28 years, he became a veterans advocate, which is something that he's incredibly passionate about now, and we'll definitely speak to tonight. He's a peer mentor, peer support group facilitator for veterans in our community, and he has studied with Dr. Roger Brooks and Dr. Denise McMorrow with the Soldier's Heart Foundation, incorporating the study of Native American, and this is what I got really excited, Native American rituals, which is just fascinating, of warrior return, which is so interesting because the warrior is such a integral part of their culture as well. So I can't wait to ask you questions about that. Hopefully it'll come up. And then we have more. So he has designed and led multiple retreats for veterans and their family, has served on several veteran charities, board of directors. So this is someone who gave service to his country, and now he serves his community in ways to help them heal as well. And in service to them, he helps himself. So he was called to become a therapist, which is amazing because he calls it his true calling. So it doesn't matter when you start and when you answer the call, it somehow will find you. He's married to his lovely wife of 30 years, has one son, and he lives in the Florida Panhandle. He is committed to community service and to continued service, helping veterans navigate the journey, which is amazing. We need more people who are in service to those who actually served all of the civilians in this world. So thank you for that, Frank. His motto, I love this: we went to war together and we can only come home the same way. Amazing. He incorporates nature, talk therapy, and service in his process to assist veterans. Thank you so much for joining us in this wonderfully uplifting and inspiring evening that will usher more magic for your holidays. Frank, it's all you.
Oh, Lord.
Introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, guys. Meg kind of gave you the overview of who I am. And then when we talk about really how I got to where I'm at, and, talking about this month being the month of making a decision to change. This is the month when the world changed.
Wow.
So when we embrace that and we recognize that life is about progressing forward, you can't stand still. In combat, we used to tell people, move. I don't care which way you move, but keep moving, because when you stand still, you're a target. Wow. So we're always moving forward.
Wow. I just want to say that's very interesting you say that, because it's such an interesting analogy, you know, that we don't stand still, because if you stay still, you're a target. But if you keep moving forward, that's something that in the military they teach you. That's amazing.
Yeah. But it's a part of life.
Yeah.
If we're not learning, if we're not grasping where we're going, we're dying. So every day has to have a small goal of victory, a small step of stepping forward. So, you know, when I saw what the focus of this month in Megs in podcast, that is so important. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at. You know, one of the things that Meg talked about was the warrior concept. A lot of us turn around and say, oh, he's a military man, he's a hero. One of my best friends, a man that survived Somalia, used to tell us, boys, if anybody wants to buy you a beer for what you did in combat, or wants to buy you a drink for what you did in combat, order milk. And if they call you a hero, I want you to remind them that heroes dwell in Arlington and our nation's cemeteries, but I'm just a guy that witnessed terrorism.
Wow.
So I like to use the word the warrior's path, the warrior's journey versus the hero's journey. Because the hero's journey is going home.
Wow.
And a warrior still is in the fight. And that's how I look at myself. So give you a little bit of that.
I like it. Wow, that's amazing. You know, so I want to hear a little bit about your story so that you can give everybody who's listening a background into your place, where you are now, and how you've actually gotten there to experience this part of this side of your journey after you've persevered through, you know, serious combat, and then coming back with inspiration to bring others into this warrior's journey that you're a part of now.
Okay. Well, it kind of, and Meg and I have been talking about this today a lot. It didn't start when I was in the military. Quite honestly, my warrior's journey started when I was about 9 years old. I am a survivor of childhood sexual trauma. I was attacked by a child molester nearby my house on my way home from school. I was able to fight back, and though the trauma was there, I did not experience the same trauma that 15 other young men had from this subhuman. I'll just put it that way. But the difference between my story and my journey is that I didn't let him take who I was. And in fact, and we just talked about this, and Meg didn't even know this until today, that when I was coming home or going to school one morning, I saw him. I saw him in a car.
Wow.
And I memorized the make, the model, and the license plate. Being the son of a police officer, I knew what you needed to have for the prosecutor, Meg, to go and nail the SOB.
Yeah.
So at I think I was like 10 years old, I fought back. And at 10 years old, I was able to effect taking that individual off the grid.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
And that set the stage for a lot of what I did coming forward in the military, coming forward as a young high school student, and so forth. The sense of right and wrong and vindication through action became kind of the watchword. In fact, Meg described me, and this is kind of funny, as a child or as a young man, I was the guy that was the rules. Yes. I was the older person in the house, and we were going to follow the rules.
Yes.
Well, that's where that came from. That's how that came about.
Amazing.
So recognizing the struggle that an individual might have to be one of the most horrific things that he or she experienced, while at the same time being the life-changing thing that sets you on the path.
Wow, that's amazing. But clearly when you're 10 years old, and you basically survive, you're not the warrior yet at 10, you're surviving at 10, you adopt the rule mentality at 10. That is a miraculous event in and of itself, that you can actually identify. We were talking about this before, identify the person and speak up, because a lot of people hide in shame rather than come forth and know. I mean, you had a father who was a police officer. However, that doesn't, give you the Constitution to speak your mind. However, you did.
Yes.
So that's amazing. That's amazing. So what was it that pulled that out of you, that you knew that you couldn't stay silent then? And that's continued throughout your journey, because that's what you do. You're speaking up for the people who can't speak for themselves now.
I think that it was that I didn't want to be a victim. I didn't want to seem weak. Being six, when I grew up, I was 6'5", but I weighed 170 pounds. So I was a big, tall, lanky kid. But by standing up for myself, standing up for what's right, standing up for people that are weaker than I am, it allowed me to have a voice. And as you know, I never shut up. So.
Well, I don't think there was a time. I mean, Frank, and just so the audience knows, Frank's family and my family were essentially family when we moved to Orlando. My family moved to Orlando, and Frank's family moved to Orlando. So we have grown up together. So we know the raucous Irish and the Italian conversation clearly met in our homes. And yes, we are definitely gifted with the gab. So absolutely. So yes, I remember the 6 foot, 170 pound lanky Frank telling us all what to do. But the bottom line is, you didn't go silent. And that's something that you've used in your profession, even when you were in the military and even today.
Oh, sure. The sense of right and wrong and concrete facts that go with the military, it was a natural progression to become a member of the military, because I like rules. I need to know my left and right limits, because otherwise I'll be everywhere. So when you give me limits, I can operate inside those limits and achieve amazing things, because in the military, they kind of honor your boundary makers and your boundary breakers. They may tell me that I want you to go to the fight to this line and stop. But if I have the initiative and I have the strength to move forward, I'm going to keep fighting beyond that spot and inform everybody else they better catch the heck up. And so that never changed throughout what I've been doing, both in the military and with our veteran community. When certain organizations or certain charities couldn't, or said, oh, it's too much for us to do this because you're so far out in the panhandle. When I turned around and showed them that I was getting 30 people together twice a month for a peer support group without sponsorship. We were paying for our own meals. We were getting the community to donate a space for us to meet. And I said, are you sure you don't have the capacity to support us? And suddenly, miraculously, they were able to help us. Well, it wasn't because they couldn't. They didn't realize that they had an unstoppable force.
Well, when did you determine in your life, like what was the point in your life that you embraced the unstoppable force? Because I love that mentality, but to shift from I don't want to be a victim to now I'm this unstoppable force, where was the segue?
Honestly, I have to say that it sounds crazy, but out in survival school, when they put us into push the limits of our experience. I was an air crew, and then I went into intelligence, And then I got into special operations and never stopped.
Wow.
But when I went through survival school, they pushed us to a limit that I thought, man, I can't do this. I'm in Spokane, Washington in January.
It's cold.
4 feet of snow.
Oh.
And it's about 0 degrees on the hottest point of the day. And we had to travel a long distance. And then after that, we went into our resistance training for preparation if we ever were to become POWs. And I dealt with bullies, which POW camp is nothing but a bunch of bullies. And I had dealt with running around in the woods. I was actually in heaven in the woods, in the cold, in the snow, sleeping in a little bit of an igloo and doing all that. That was heaven. But then when they challenged me with face-to-face verbal combat with somebody, I realized that, hey, I was pretty good at this. You know, it has to be something like the realization that you would be an outstanding prosecutor.
Right.
You know, when you realize that, you're like, yes, I've got it.
Yes.
And you can push through it. And then at the same time, the military took the 179-pound, 6'5" kid. And when you think about 179 pounds and on a 6'5" frame, you're not thinking about an Olympic athlete. You're thinking about a concentration camp. I was definitely not a svelte, athletic individual going into the military. When I got out of the first year or two of the military was when all of a sudden I filled out, and I was 6'5", 125 pounds, about the size of a Notre Dame, football player. And for a long time, I looked good. Now I look like Santa Claus. I'm just saying. But the change in who I was, I joined when I was 19 years old. So by the time I was 21, here I had both the physical, emotional, and mental strength reinforced in that who I was.
Right.
And that helps in being able to combat the challenges that you face in combat.
Right.
And no one could have told any of us that going into this in 1985 that I would be a part of the longest military conflict that our nation's ever known.
Yeah.
And to be able to be on the front lines in those battles, in a lot of those battles, has been just amazing. So.
Your father says you will never grow up, Frank. His comment in the feed.
No comments from the peanut gallery. Yeah.
And they're all thanking you for your service. I just want to make sure, because I know that you can't see the feed, but I just want to make sure that you know that they're all thanking you for your service. But specifically, I think what is really fantastic here, what you've actually identified, is you had an aha moment from a point where you had no clue what you were going to do, right? You knew you weren't going to be the victim. You just needed some direction. And they gave you structure, and they let you, get the training, or maybe they forced you to get the training that you needed to find yourself, which is a part of your warrior's journey, so to speak. Really, it is. It's the laying of the foundations, because a call has been said, and then you're answering it. And this is how the answer is unfolding in your life, which is what makes you who you are today. And
right.
And tell us a little bit about, we were talking before, like, people come into your life at certain times and for reasons, seasons, lifetime, and they also, the opportunities as well. If you're paying attention and you're actually responding, those come into your life. And since you have an opportunity to look at what we're going to chat about, the whole trusting the process mentality. of, I'm going further. I can be grateful for my experiences. At the same time, when challenges arise, those training techniques are what's going to give you the power to move past and move on, and actually to help other people. How does this speak to you right now?
Well, when you talk about the process, the first thing is you've got to, if you want to hear God laugh, you tell him your plan. You've got to give control to the person that has control, and accept that fact, and accept that God has a path and an intention for you. You can swim upstream for a really long time, but eventually he's going to knock you off that horse and get you on the right path. So being open and willing to accept the path that's before you is one of the first things. To be able to listen and hear the call is probably one of the strongest points that needs to happen in the progression of life. For me, everything from learning to read. I was dyslexic as a child. I was telling you that I still type backwards, and it's pretty funny when I'm writing a big long paper and I find words written completely backwards, and it's just the way my brain's wired. But at the same time, it's not a hindrance. It's just a reminder to be present and go back and look at what you've done. And every single thing that has kicked me in the shorts has also given me the opportunity to learn and grow. And as long as I continue to look at it as a challenge and as a gift, every challenge and every struggle that I've ever faced has also been an incredible gift to develop and refine and define the person that I am.
Wow, it's amazing. It's so true though too, right? It's so true. And what I was saying to you before, when you did tell me initially about what happened to you as a kid, you're like, what was the greatest challenge has become my greatest strength. And, speak to that, because I think people, when they're facing challenges, they don't realize that you have two choices. We all have choices. Either you succumb and numb, right? Or you gather the strength that you have inside you, that light that wants to come out, and then you take the next magical step into possibilities for healing, or possibilities for serving or helping or getting the help you need. And I know that points of connection are very important to you, so perhaps you can speak to that as well.
Well, one of the big things that you just hit on was helping, healing, and connecting. One of the things as a counselor for me, as a peer mentor and a facilitator, is I can sit down with someone who's dealt with sexual trauma, and it may be a male, it may be a female, and by sharing my story, they now find their voice because they're willing to talk to someone who has been there. And it's hard at times, because sometimes I look at myself and I go, why am I the person that someone has chosen to share that huge burden? But a burden shared is a burden lessened.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So this gift of pain, of struggle, as what Viktor Frankl, who's my man Vic,
I love him. Yeah,
he explained that there is such a benefit in righteous suffering, and embracing the fact that I was given this challenge and I have survived for a reason. I have a reason.
Just so people know about your man, Viktor Frankl wrote, go ahead, you can speak to it, a bit about the Holocaust, a Mansard meaning, and he spoke directly to his experience and how he was able to survive such a horrific experience in his life. Not only survive, but then when he left, go ahead, you talk to it. He's your man.
Well, and this is the joke. When I say my man Viktor, when we looked at the military experience, there are stages in life: the shock of being in a concentration camp, the shock of dealing with someone becoming subhuman or treated as being subhuman, and then the shock of being released.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Now, when you look at the military experience, we have the shock of basic training and reprogramming and redefining who you are.
Right.
Then there's the shock of combat, the most primal act that a human can have, to take another man's life.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we're released, when we're discharged, and we're alone for the first time, those experiences align together. And when you look at it through the lens of the Holocaust survivor, and then apply it to the lens of the military survivor, especially those that have served the long war in Afghanistan and Iraq and now Syria, when you see that, and when they're injured and then they're suddenly released, their sense of community, their sense of identity, their tie-in has been removed. So tying those things together are so important, so that you can identify the emotions and the feelings that you have, and then be able to say, this refines who I am, but it doesn't define me.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. So interestingly enough, I love it when the bells ring behind me, because you know that the point you're being, like when we talk about technology and how the other.
Hi, Mary Jo.
That's my mother. I knew she'd show up one point in this conversation. So I was like, oh my God. Yeah. You know, actually it's funny. I have to mention, you know, after she passed away, one of my voicemails was her speaking, I'm looking for you wherever you are, which is exactly how I see it. But I think what you're speaking to, back to the point where you're speaking to, is this whole processing of the reinsertion of someone into the community, but changed. But they're changed. They're not the same as when they left, and the military can prepare them for so much. But your job right now is to help the person who is not able to navigate the journey home.
And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, to come home, but yet, and then know that it's important for them to share their insights as well, because all of us need to be educated to a certain degree as to what kind of mission and service, without obviously the details, but to make them feel, you know, validated, to make them feel honored, to make them feel seen. And that's where you come in, really, because your point to the conversation was, I want to help people feel seen in this world, which is ultimately the thing that will save us all, right? I truly believe that, because isolation is no good. We have to feel like we connect, and we have to find those avenues to do so. And that is what you're doing for the veterans community. Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Sure. It's, you know, when we talk about that, those 3 steps of indoctrination into basic training, your combat experience, and then your release. Well, indoctrination takes about 9 to 12 weeks, depending on which service that you're in. Your combat experience is the brunt of your experience in the military. And then coming home, how long do you think it takes a veteran to out-process the military when they say either I'm done or thank you for your service, you've been broken, and you have to become a civilian again? How long do you think that takes?
Oh, a lifetime, I think. I don't know. I mean, the reality is,
administratively.
I'm sorry?
Administratively, how long do you think that takes?
2 weeks? They give you 2 weeks?
It's less than 30 days.
Wow.
So when you think it takes 9 to 12 weeks to become a military member, but it only takes 3 to 4 weeks to get out.
Yeah.
We actually have to have a boot camp to bring our veterans home. To bring them back. And this is where the warrior's journey and the teachings of Dr. Ed Tick, who is an amazing person who works with the Greer Foundation. Again, any book by Dr. Greer or Dr. Tick absolutely amazing. I highly recommend them. But this is where the bringing in of the traditions of the natives, of the native tribes, and how they brought their warriors home means so much to the warrior class that I belong to, and that we recognize that there is a process of coming home. And when we look at the Lakota Sioux, what they would do is they'd go to battle.
Amazing.
And they'd fight for their tribe to defend the people. And when they went into battle, what would happen is the tribe would reorient their entire life, because now they were in combat. But when their warriors came home, they didn't bring them right in and say, "Thank you for your service, high five, go see your wife, go see your family."
Yeah.
They sat them on the other side of the water source, on the other side of the river, so they could see their family, but they couldn't have contact.
Wow.
They went through a process of healing through fire. They took off all the warriors' clothes.
Wow.
And they burned them.
Wow, that's amazing.
They took away and washed them. So now we have a ritual cleansing.
Wow.
So ritual by fire, ritual by water, and then they had ritual by storytelling.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
So by sitting as long as it took, for as long as it had to happen, we would sit and tell our story.
Wow.
And I will tell you that being a witness to the lives of so many different veterans that have worked through this process has been absolutely amazing. And for myself, Dr. Brooke, Roger Brooke and Denise McMorrow are absolutely amazing. Duquesne University trained psychologists who deal with the military on a regular basis. To have access to them and work with them has been a huge blessing for me. Yeah. But the experience of going through their process and working together has given me the clarity to know that this is where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. This is what I'm supposed to do.
I love that you use the word clarity too, because I think, I've been studying about visionaries lately and how desperate we are, all of us, for a vision for our lives. But I think you can have a vision, but without clarity of the path and those signs that show up, then you might be lost with your vision. Mm-hmm. There might be no direct, connection to what you choose to do, your calling, and then how the unfolding happens. But with clarity, when you get intentional, then opportunities like this with your school, your graduate school, show up for you because you're looking for those opportunities, which I think is fantastic that you use that terminology, because that really is truly what is necessary for the visionary to come to life. And we all are visionaries. It's just that we get that clarity. And perhaps people like you can be the one in your community to give the storytelling opportunity for the purpose to come to light. And I definitely encourage anyone who is in or near or around Frank's area, if that's a resource that you want to use, to definitely reach out to him. Please tell me a little bit more about your experience with regard to the intentional part of your life.
That's the hard part. Being deliberate and making the commitment to change. I could have stopped when so many different points in my life, I could have stopped and said, I've done well. One of my favorite stories, and this will get my mom tied into this. I'm sure I'll hear hear comments from her later.
Well, you know, you've done well when someone comments, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they've heard me.
They heard you.
When I was in Afghanistan at the very beginning of the war, we had some missionaries. Now, everybody thinks that Afghanistan is a totally Muslim. They'll chop your head off if you're a missionary in there. Right. Not so. There were missionaries that were in Afghanistan when we went in, and we knew where they were. We tried to get them out. I had one set of missionaries from a charity walk up to my guys and say, "Hey, you guys want to come have dinner with us?" And they're like, "No, we've got a meeting to go to down the road." He goes, "Yeah, there's an ambush down the road. Do you want to come have dinner with us?" They essentially saved the lives of these guys and may have hastened the departure of the people that were waiting at the ambush. Yeah. But these missionaries were there, and they included a group of women who came to speak at our church. And my mom, tells this story to me when I come back, and she's like, this woman, to signal the helicopters, she burned the burqa that they made her wear for these, the months that she was held captive. And I go, yeah, I know. And I think that was the day that my mom realized the kind of work that I did, because I debriefed this woman.
Oh, there you go.
And my mom said, well, my son's there. Would you happen to have known? And, we don't use her names.
Right.
But when she showed a picture,
oh, wow.
The lady smiled.
That's amazing.
And so the connectivity of being able to be there together, here I am 3,000 miles away from my family, but my mom turns around and connects with someone who had been there, had gotten a hug from me, had told her story, and I was there to give her a voice in the debriefing of how she was taken care of, where she was hidden, and all the things that I needed from that. So being able to connect in that, the interconnectivity of the entire universe, and I think that Richard Rohr, Richard Rohr talks about the universal Christ and the universe connecting. A lot of people will turn around and talk about Native American tradition, and they're like, oh, we can't do that. It's not Christian.
Right.
Oh my God. And this is where Richard Rohr steps up and says, oh my God, yes, it is. Yes. It's more Christian than a lot of what our churches are doing. Yeah. Being
I've
open
read The Universal Christ. It's an amazing book. Oh, it's an amazing book. Yeah.
Yeah. So being able to connect, to be able to recognize that Christ is everywhere, whether we want to admit it and accept it or not, it's in the mosques, it's in the temples, it's in the different places where good people are.
Yes. And
being able to accept that and not say to make a blanket statement that not everyone's wrong or everyone in this group is a terrorist or a bad person. Mm-hmm. It's not so. Yeah. And here's a guy that's actually fought for 20 years against an ideology. And I'm telling you that there are amazing people throughout the universe, throughout the world.
I love that you said that. I have to segue on your post that you put, because this is perfect timing for that. Yeah. It's like the mere fact that you have this understanding. If everyone would stop yelling at each other and basically protecting what they believe is the right ideology and start to listen to each other, what an incredible change and impact that one small act can have on the universe. Literally, the change that will have a ripple effect that will go on and on, just because you sought to understand before you actually were understood. I love that you posted that, and I love that that's a part of your discourse, at least with regard. And I would encourage everyone on the feed to follow him on Facebook, because I think there's a lot of beauty that can be had in a different perspective. Certainly, hearing from a different person that you wouldn't normally talk to. I personally think that I am blessed with everyone who I come into contact with, like you were saying before, the small synchronicities of life. Carl Jung's my man, he's mine. Those synchronicities are like those ahas that the God nods, the God winks, that you have in your life, that there is more connectivity than you even can see. It's the whole idea that there's more to the world than this life, this miraculous life, than we can actually see with our eyes. Sometimes we have to see with our hearts. So, share with regard to that, because I think that's really so important, that we learn to start communicating from the place of love, rather than immediately, I don't think that you're like me, so I'm going to hate you.
Well, and the thing is that hate's cancer.
Hate is cancer.
Hate is a cancer. And one of the things that was in our discussion board today specifically is that the people that want us to remain divided, who say that we're a racist country, who say that we are hateful in nature, want us to hate. They want us to hate each other, because what it does is it destabilizes who we are as a country, who we are as a people and a community.
Amazing.
Whereas, there are people that say that, well, that person's gay, I can't be friends with them. That person's black, I can't be friends with them. That person is Jewish or Muslim or what have you. All these labels that we put on people, what's the first part of that statement? That person.
Yeah.
And if we believe that each and every one of us are made in Christ's image, no matter what their ideology, no matter where they come from, where they've been, if we believe that, we have to recognize the divinity in each and every human being. And if we don't honor that, we're not honoring God.
That's amazing. And it's interesting, because even at that point that it's even the whole idea with like the whole namaste principle, where the God in me salutes the God in you. It's that ideology, or the actual reality, that we're spirit beings, right? We're spiritual beings having a human experience. That's well, anyway, I'll come up with it later. But the bottom line is, I'm getting excited, so I'm like completely But the whole point of the matter is that we need to honor each other, and when we honor each other, we honor the spirit within, which is based in from a place of love, the creation of who we are, the deliberate creators that we become. Start off honoring the light within. And honestly, especially this time, this season, how they follow the light, the North Star, to this beautiful miracle of someone who is going to change the world. We too, as visionaries, need to allow our lights to be seen and recognize the light in someone else. And that's where a wonderful collaboration can come to life, literally. And that's where love can heal so much. And I think that even with regard to you, I want to speak to the insight today, because it's one of my actual favorites, and it talks about the next magical step. And Paulo Coelho, who is the author of Alchemist, he speaks to everything we need to learn is always before us. We just have to look around with respect and attention in order to discover where God is leading us and which step we should next take. And truly, if you believe that, like you were saying before, the synchronicities that show up in life, every person who shows up on your path is there for a reason. You need to pay attention to what that is and listen to the lesson they're offering you. I don't know if you want to speak to that as well.
The big thing is to be able to listen and to calm yourself enough to where you can hear the message and to accept what is being said to you. The issue of being ready, it'll come. For me, I was 50 years old when I got the calling to become a counselor. But it'll come. And you have to be physically, emotionally, and spiritually ready to hear the call. If you wait too long, or if you ignore it, there's a point in time where you can swim upstream for only so long. You can fight the path that's set before you. Eventually, you're going to have to come downstream and follow the flow that you're going to experience. Life is a journey, and I've been blessed. And again, the concept of being blessed with hardship. My best friend is a cancer survivor, and she's in stage 4 cancer. Now, we could turn around and say, stage 4, we know what that means. Okay, let's get our affairs in order. No, not at all. We're going to live with cancer. We're going to live life to the fullest as people that are living with cancer, not allowing cancer to take anything away from us. And having, I'm one of these weird guys, okay, that has a best friend that's a girl, and she's incredible. But what she is doing is she's teaching me how to live and being there for me. And with the other people that we have in our community, each of them brings something that is incredibly powerful to teach each other. If we're willing to listen, if we're willing to hear the Spirit tell us what we're looking for. And that's pretty powerful. That's pretty amazing.
If we're willing to listen. That's, I think, probably one of the most important things that you have said. We will all learn if we're willing to listen, and that's to the other, and give that place, the space, so the conversation can begin. It's very sacred. This opportunity to speak with you, it's a very sacred space where you allow the other the opportunity to be heard. And I think that, is where manifesting actually begins. I think that, we are creators of our life. And I think that, interestingly enough, when we change, like you said, perspective, and change how we act in this world, and like your friend is teaching you how to live, it becomes less the years in your life rather than the life in your year, and more the life in your years. And I think that, specifically because, you've told me and you've shared with me that you've been challenged with post-traumatic stress from your experiences, certainly coming back from combat. I mean, there is that reality that you have lived, you said 20 years, in that mentality, that experience with all of your family there, back, and then the whole processing it. And I'm sure, like, even coming back, like, how did you address the challenges? Who gave you the opportunity to be heard so that you, on your path in this journey, become a counselor?
That's one of the hard things, because I focused all my energy on taking care of other people. Okay. And I didn't necessarily want to take and look at who I was or where I was coming from. Okay. It was more of serving other people. And then suddenly I realized that I had nothing left for myself. Wow. And that I needed the help. And to ask for help is one of those challenges that is not easy. One of the things that has made it easy, Maggie.
Maggie's here. Yeah. I was hoping.
Well, up, all the way. Up.
Maggie.
Come here. This is my girl, Maggie. She's a service dog. And I hadn't really even talked to my wife about needing the help that I needed. And till I brought home this little furball, and she is an empath. She knows when I'm having a tough time, but then she also knows when I need to get out and I need to play, or if it's a stressful situation and she says, hey, Dad, I need to go to the bathroom. Well, no, she doesn't need to go to the bathroom. She says, I smell all the stress in this room. Let's get the hell out of here.
That's so amazing.
And she's so smart that it gives me the opportunity to break free and also have a chance to make a difference. And she keeps me balanced. And the beauty of who she is and the way that Maggie communicates has actually been able to strengthen my connection to my family. That's because amazing. When Maggie reacts to me having a stressful time, my son goes, Maggie's in his lap. Okay, we need to back off. We need to back off for a little bit and give some space. And at the same time, when he's having a tough time and Maggie goes and crawls into his lap, he goes, oh my God, she just reacted to me.
Wow.
That's the dog. That's the empath, the unconditional love that comes from an animal.
Amazing.
And Meg, how you spell dog backwards.
Yep.
Unconditional love of God. Yeah. That's why God named a dog.
Oh, I love it.
They're incredibly loving and nurturing.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I was hoping, I told you I was hoping to get Maggie on tonight. So I'm glad that segued so perfectly. But I check. I was like, oh, that's great. No, I do want to give some people out there who are listening some tools that you've used to, manifest the life that you feel that you're called to live right now. And this is the last month of 2019, the last month of the decade that we've lived, these teens.
Isn't that incredible?
It's incredible. And I'm telling you, I'm so excited. I'm so happy to spend it with you. This has been absolutely wonderful. I absolutely encourage more conversations like this. Frankie, you're amazing. I can't wait to share with everybody some tools that you use to basically manifest where you are now. So to start off, I want you to answer what's important to you now in your life.
Definitely my family and my friends, and the family not only that I was given, that I've been blessed with, my brothers and sisters, my mom and dad, you guys, your family, and the family that we grew up with, but then also the family that I have built within the military, people that connect with me that have reached out and said, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here today.
Amazing.
And, you have no idea how humbling that is. But having friends and family, my wife and my son, and trying to be a better person for them is one of my big challenges. Wow. The emotional hand grenade, if you will, always goes off and it affects the people that you're closest to.
That's always true.
And it happens. I mean, we've witnessed it in both of our houses.
Yeah.
So,
I love that you say emotional hand grenade. It's so
it is. At the center of it is the closest people to you.
Yeah.
And understanding that is what's important. Wow. It's the connection to the people. We are a social being, and we have to be connected. We have to be held. We have to be loved. We need to be touched and told that we're beautiful, that we're strong. We're stronger than we could ever imagine.
I really want you to tell the story that you had relayed to me about your intuitiveness and the gentleman I really, that was so profound. And it just shows that when you pay attention and reach out, when you feel pushed or compelled to do so, magic can happen.
Absolutely. When I was in Korea in 2005, I was walking down the street, the main road in Osan, Korea, and I make a point of looking people in the eye, saying good morning, and I don't want a cursory "what's up." I want to know what's going on in their lives. Yeah. And this young man came walking up to me, and my God, he looked like he was carrying a 300-pound weight on his back. His eyes were red. His body was just, emotionally crippled. And I said, "How are you doing?" And he kind of harumphed and started to go forward. And I said, "Hey, wait a second. Let's talk. How are you doing?" And we talked a little bit more, and we found out that his life was falling apart. His marriage was gone. His bank account was wiped out. His entire universe, as he saw it with the soda straw that he was looking at it, was over. Wow. And he was in trouble with work. He was in trouble with the military. He was in trouble with his bills, and he saw no way out. And the reality is that, and God love him, I still talk to him, which is really cool. He had bought the sleeping pills. He had gotten a plastic bag, the duct tape, which is, for whatever reason, in Korea, that's the way they take their lives. And then the alcohol. So he had a plan. He had all the methods. He actually had the alcohol in his backpack, and he was walking home. And he broke down crying on the side of the street and told me what was going on in his head and where he was going. And I said, "Hey, you know what? How about if you and I go take a walk over to the hospital? I think we can get you some help. This isn't the right answer." Well, fast forward to 2013 when I retired. This young man took out a bunch of money, flew down for my retirement, and at my retirement ceremony, or at my retirement dinner, told his whole story to the entire community.
Wow.
And, the people that were there were like, there wasn't a dry eye in the house, but then the people were there and said, "Yeah, I can see that." Because that's always been who I've been.
Yeah.
Looking people in the eye and knowing what right looks like, and when it isn't, stopping them and asking the question.
Wow. Amazing. It's the looking in the eye. I think that what you just said, people always look down. They're not looking up. And I think when we look at each other, the whole see you, I see you, it's you as somebody. Look at people when you walk down the street. They don't look at you in the face a lot. But when you say good morning like you did and you saw him, you changed his life. And I think that, everyone's looking for the big, success and the big this and the, I'm going to be when I get there. And that small act was a huge success for that one person. And that's really, truly where the change can happen. And I think for manifesting purposes, paying attention clearly and being, there for your family as well as your friends who are family and your community that are family, it gives you a purpose to serve. It satisfies a calling in you. And it also gives much meaning to the lives of others because they get to do the same because he flew down to tell you how much love, how loved you were. It was a karmic circle that's been closed. Oh my God, that's amazing. I ask, what do you want to prioritize for this new season or decade of your life?
To connect, to be with people that need help, and to be able to serve them.
Amazing.
And then at the same time also to make sure that I am making the time for the family and making time for the people that need the connection. Amazing. And then, welcome them into our family.
And I really want you to share tools of manifesting. We had spoken this.
Yeah.
I truly think that for me, it's one way, but for you, it might be another. Like, how do you best practice or use the tools that allow you to experience more magic and miracles?
I'm gonna look to my notes because I actually wrote these down. First and foremost, unplug, get out into nature to reconnect where we belong. The podcast 3-Day Effect. If you haven't seen it, haven't listened to it, listen to it.
3-Day Effect.
From Florence Williams.
Okay.
It's a podcast about reconnecting with nature and how it can de-stress a person's life. It sounds crazy, but I became a fan of something called a sun clock.
Huh?
It's an alarm clock, but it doesn't use noise to pull you out of your sleep. It uses sunlight or light to let you calmly and slowly come out of your sleep. Well, what it does also that I've found is it connects your unconscious and your conscious, that point between total consciousness and your REM sleep. I've been able to come back and pull out messages and memories out of my dreams much better because it doesn't shock you out of it.
Everyone's getting a sun clock for Christmas.
There you go. Hey, I'm telling you, it's great. It's fantastic.
I love that.
Of course, to be present with your family, date night, but make it a priority for the relationship, not just an action. Okay, we can go out for dinner every single night, but unless it's special, unless it has purpose, unless it has thought, it's just going out for dinner.
Yeah, I like this. That's very good for all the gentlemen out there. Perhaps maybe a present for your lady person is have a nice date night. There you go. Thoughtful. Yes.
The person, whoever you love, take time for them to relate to them.
Amazing.
And then making sure that you have time for quiet contemplation and prayer. And if I were to give you a book to tie that in, I would definitely go with Richard Rohr's Universal Christ.
Oh, it's a beautiful book. It's life-changing, to be quite honest with you. I agree. So now that we've come to the end, I can't believe we've almost come to the end, but I asked you to get intentional and I asked you to pick a number. So intentional, what was your intention for this meeting?
My intention, and I'd worked through this, is to connect and find meaning for change with people that we talk with.
I like that.
So, that's kind of the focus.
And you picked number 304, correct?
I did. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
304 was the definitive day. March 4th, 2002 is when one of the major battles that I was a part of took place, and I lost a good friend who later was awarded the Medal of Honor.
Wow! And that's when you were in Washington for that, correct?
Yeah. So that's why 304.
Yes. Oh my God! Amazing. So this is an honor. So this is also, we brought in your friend. What's his name? The one who lost.
Master Sergeant John Chapman.
He
died in the battle of Takagar.
Okay. I get it. Wow. So we bring him into this conversation. So his spirit is with us. So go ahead and read number 304.
I couldn't find my book. I have it. I have it paged out, but we moved this year.
Okay, no worries. So I would have said to you. So may I have the honor of giving you the gift of reading you to page 304?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I forgot to tell you that. Sorry.
No worries. Well, this is interesting. It's you reap what you sow.
Mm-hmm.
And the intention aligns with this. All that you give to others, you are giving to yourself. Anthony DeMello, who I love, by the way. And listen, this is from your friend, number 304, right? We live in a world where there is a message of lack, a pervading belief that there's not enough of anything to go around. So many people fear that their things can be taken away from them by others who are equally desirous. We collect things and clutter our lives, holding on for dear life until we can no longer breathe under the weight and worry of losing it all. The reality is that we live in a world of abundance. When we shift our perspective to that belief, there is so much good to be shared. Love is abundant. Kindness is abundant. Success is abundant. When we focus on our behavior as a means of reaping the abundance we sow, we become cognizant of what we are putting out there. For it is true, all we give to others will come back to each of us twofold. If we put our positive vibes, we will receive the same in kind. If we desire love, we must share what we have with others. If we want to experience kindness, we must provide an atmosphere in which fun and excitement can blossom. If we want to know success, we need to build the self-esteem of others to add to a more confident society. There's so much abundance in this world. By giving what we have and not keeping it from others, we are better serving the common good, giving all of us the chance to live a life that overflows with bliss. And the key, sow love and reap a life of abundance. And I don't know a better way to end with that.
It's a good thing that I didn't have the book, because I couldn't have gotten through that.
No.
I would have been, yeah. No.
So John Chapman, right?
Yes.
John Chapman. Wow. He's speaking to you from the other side, my friend.
Absolutely.
I want to offer everyone the opportunity to connect with you. So I will most certainly put in the feed everything, that all your information, your social media, everything. So if there's anyone out there who feels that they're isolated and they need to be heard, Frank is definitely available for you. He's there to be of service, and certainly I will give you the tools to find him. And as always, I am here to help you dream bigger and live the life you want with purpose and passion. That is what I am been called to do. And, you know, it's funny because Uncle Frank put God bless you and both of us. My mom is watching over us now, which I always know she's there. Yeah. And Frank Dailey has had the opportunity to hear another side of my mother, but certainly definitely the direction, perhaps the beginnings of a military structure. I don't know. You weren't scared of it because you were already introduced to it. Your mother, they got that covered for sure. So I want to thank you so much, Frank, for bringing your magic and helping inspire everyone to elevate their lives and recognize their potential. The final inspirational word this last month, December of 2019, goes to you, my friend.
Thank you, my dear.
So you get the final word of inspiration, my friend.
I get the final word of inspiration.
Yes, you do. You're the final word.
Believe, listen, and act.
Believe, listen, and act. Amazing. That's amazing. So once again, Frank, thank you so much for joining me this evening. It's been an incredible conversation. I really hope that everybody remembers that you're the deliberate creators of your life. Let your soul be guided by your dreams, and let's all together raise the positive vibrations on this planet by connecting from a place of listening to each other and honoring each other in that respect through love. Enjoy your magic and miracles this month. Something wonderful is always about to happen. Shine your beautiful light. And until next year, January 2020, manifest the most beautiful life. And let's do this, huh, Frank? What would they say in the military at the end of a conversation? Like when they said, agree, I agree. What is the...
I'm not going there, but I will say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah and Happy New Year.
There you go.